Okay, I cannot think of a good way to start this video.
It's Mazel Tov, another dang episode.
But they get so worried that you
Mashiach.
look like them and that you're saying that. You know, it scares them.
No, I know.
Mazel Tov!
I want to start off by saying super dope that you're down to do this little interview, because I'm sure you can appreciate how unique of an individual you are.
A little bit, yeah. I feel a little bit like a unicorn sometimes. Nobody really likes me.
So
100%.
So I don't know how exactly you came up on my radar, but all I remember is a while back hearing that there were these missionaries that were dressing up as Jews and that were babysitting kids and telling the kids about Jesus. Now, I'm assuming this is all Lashon Hara and a big load of crap, but behind every rumor, there's a little bit of validity. So I did some research, and it turns out that, are you a missionary?
I would call myself a shliach for Mashiach, but that's a controversial way, I guess, of saying it.
Yeah.
I do say that Yeshua is Mashiach. I have served with a missions organization when I was first sort of asked to leave the synagogue in New York. I was working but I am no longer working for
Let's backtrack.
A missionary organization when I was living in New York.
So let's back. So you were working for a missionary organization in New York and going to a synagogue.
Yes.
Okay, and you were asked to leave that synagogue. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Pretty much it came out that one of the places that I was applying for housing, one of the guys in the synagogue was the one who owned that. And so when I applied for housing and I listed as my source of income, missionary, sort of, I work for this missionary organization. And the guy in the synagogue on Yom Kippur was like, "Oh, your name sounds familiar. I think I saw you on a application of mine for of a building that I own for an apartment." I was like, yeah. So they sort of found out about that and then asked me to leave.
Interesting. Okay. And so, and then you moved from New York, or you still lived there? Like, how did you come to Chicago?
I moved from New York. I moved to a different place in New York. So I was living in is right next to Williamsburg. I forget the name of it now. It was maybe
the specifics are not too important, to be honest.
But it's right next to Williamsburg, and so I moved next to Borough Park. So we lived in Borough Park for a little while, and I mean, I spent a lot of time in sort of the when I first got into it, I was hanging out with Jews for Jesus, like the actual organization Jews for Jesus, not like
who.
So there's an organization. So I was hanging out with some off the Derek people. There's a thing in New York called Thursday Night Chillent. And so that's sort of how I got connected. Are you familiar with that at all?
No, but it sounds like such a kiruv thing. And I'm sure you know what kiruv is. Seem to be extremely knowledgeable about Yiddishkeit. And so, did you grow up Jewish? Are you Jewish, or?
So I grew up Christian, and all I knew was Christian. I didn't know much about my mother's side of the family, really hardly anything at all. So I started dating a YESHIVISH girl, and she was like, this is an intra-religion relationship, and we were having conversations. Are you going to take the kids and secretly baptize them? Because that's an experience that she had. And she goes, "Are you sure you're not Jewish? Like, when I talk to you, it feels like you're Jewish a little bit. Are you sure you're not Jewish? Like, even on your mom's side?" So I was like, as far as I know, I'm not Jewish. Then I look into my mom's side, and my mom's sister, or my mom's mother's sister, my grandmother's sister, because my grandmother had died at that time, says, "Well, I wasn't told I was Jewish when I was born, but apparently there were some Jewish people involved with our family, and we maybe were Jewish." And so then I brought it up to an anti-Semitic family member, and the anti-Semitic family member talks to the grandmother's sister a little bit longer, and she responds to me. She goes, "So what if grandma was born Jewish? She chose to be Catholic. That's what matters." And I go, "Not for me." So she talked with the grandmother's sister, who she's closer with, who's also a Catholic, and said, we were born Jewish, but now we're Catholic. So that's sort of what I have as whether or not I'm Jewish or not. I need to undergo a Giyur LaChumra, so a conversion, just to make everything clear.
Yeah, the little prick.
Yeah, well, I had that.
How'd that go?
Not bad.
Don't lie. Yeah, that's
It
one
wasn't
of
bad.
that's one of their tactics. They tell you that it's not that bad, and then they get you. No, I'm kidding. I mean,
So it wasn't that bad.
when did you start learning the Aleph base?
So yeah, so I started learning about 12 years ago.
12 years. All of this in 12 years.
Yeah,
Psh.
I dated somebody else, who was a Christian missionary. And she sort of was like, well, if you really think you're Jewish, maybe you should start doing Torah. Long story short, but
Yeah.
maybe you should start doing Torah. So I walk into a Chabad house on Yom Kippur, and they ask me, are you Jewish? Classic Chabad question, are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? But walk into a Yom Kippur service, and I go, I think so. My grandmother's sister seems to indicate that I am. So they're like, okay. And so they start teaching me stuff. And then I find out that my mother's side comes from Hungary. So I check out Satmar, and I start going to a Satmar shul. So I learn a little bit Satmar, a little bit of Chabad, and then I go to the Off the Derek group, and where people are leaving Orthodox Judaism. So get into getting connected with them, and they get me connected to the rest of the Orthodox family, and was like, here you go. And I just sucked everything up and just learned as much as I possibly could.
All the while still maintaining faith in Jesus or Yeshua.
Yep.
Okay. How then did that turn into working for a missionary organization? Tell me about that.
Sure. So I was working with a missionary organization, and one of the things that really attracted me to them was, just because you believe in Jesus doesn't mean you have to go in there and sort of destroy culture. So the traditional Christian missionary way of doing things is they go in and pretty much just destroy, sort of set it up with a Christian church culture.
Yeah, the Inquisition.
Huh?
The Inquisition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
essentially, right? So, if it was the Jews, the traditional missionary thing would be, here's some ham sandwiches. And this missionary organization I joined with was not like that at all. So it was like Jewish people can keep their culture and all that kind of stuff, and find a way that Jesus can work with that.
The general vibe that I got from missionaries and even some of my Christian friends is essentially that you don't have to do all of this Jewish stuff once you believe in Jesus. Aren't the 7 Noahide laws good enough for you? Why do all of this extra stuff? Isn't it difficult?
Yeah, I mean, it can get difficult, but it's also something that I really can enjoy and love.
Beautiful.
So for me, the religion, I mean, so going back to my Baptist days, if it's good enough for Jesus and it's good enough for Peter and Paul, it's good enough for me. And so they lived an Orthodox Jewish lifestyle, and so therefore, why not? There are some opinions that a Ben Noah can also hold to the keep all the 613 mitzvahs, and I have a suffix of being Jewish, so
no one could really keep all 613, but that's a side point.
Well, with Gilgalim and things along those lines, yeah.
Not okay. That's Kabbalah. Let's not get into that.
Let's not get into that, right?
12 years ago, you start learning the Aleph base. You
Right.
start going to Chabad, incorporating yourself with the Satmar Shul. It was mentioned that you're currently in Cherem.
Right.
Is that standing?
I believe so, yeah.
You believe so? Okay,
I've been asked to be not returned to shul. So to me, that is what I understand as cherem.
So while you were spending time in synagogues in New York and in Chicago, were you actively going up to people and saying, hey, Do you know the good news or something like that? What's your pitch?
Not quite that. Just arguing in the same way that sort of I see myself as really in Chabad shoes. In the sense of don't stop doing what you're doing, but it's a pretty clear fact to me that Yeshua is Mashiach. And the way that Chabad says, a lot of Chabadniks say, that they're pretty clear that the Rebbe is Mashiach.
I was just going to say, why not? Why don't you believe in Menachem Mendel Schneerson?
Right. So there's a few issues that he doesn't complete. Right. So he didn't have the base of Mikdash. He didn't build the base of Mikdash, even though they'll tell you that 770 is the base of Mikdash.
Who says that? Now, I love Chabad.
That?
I love Chabad just as much as the next guy. But if they say that 770 is the next base of Mikdash, then the Mormons are building their base of Mikdash in Utah right now. Like, come on, people.
I've talked with some Mashiachim who have said that 770 is the base of Mikdash. It's their answer to the qualifications by the Rambam.
Listen, I guess everybody's a little crazy. That's
why I say Yeshua. He was living during the times of the base of Mikdash, so that doesn't really apply because he was at the time of the base of Mikdash.
But doesn't he have to build the third base of Mikdash? Isn't that
Mashiach ben David does? Mashiach ben Yosef doesn't.
See, now here's the thing. I obviously don't want to make this a debate because you'll sweep the floor with me, and that's fine.
Okay.
That's a beautiful. Personally, I do think that there is this interesting phenomenon that I'm just becoming aware of Christians, because do you identify as a Christian or as a Jew?
As a Jew.
As a Jew.
The majority of my life is Jewish, yeah.
Okay. I mean, it seems to be that Jews identify you as a Christian.
Right.
And then Christians identify you as confused.
Right.
So very interesting.
Yep.
This phenomenon that is just becoming clear to me of what I'll call Christians associating themselves and assimilating themselves into a Jewish lifestyle with the goal of conversion. So how does that work for you? Like I said, what's your pitch? How do you approach people about this goal of yours that you want to accomplish?
I talk about Torah. If you go to AhavasChinam.com, you'll see it in my blog posts. Some of them I need to revise because they're from a few years ago. My theology has changed.
Your theology has changed.
Right.
Give me one example of how it's changed. What did you believe and what do you believe now?
So when I first started everything, I was sort of your typical theological Christian. I mean, everything that you would normally think. The Torah has been done away with, all that kind of stuff. So I embrace the Torah. My theology, as far as coincided with the 13 principles of Rambam, I now accept where I didn't accept them before. My lifestyle is largely Orthodox Jewish. So my issue isn't so much with heaven and hell. My issue with is, are you doing what Hashem wants you to do? And it's really, my theology has really, really changed over the course of the last couple of years. I'd say 10 years or so.
Okay. And that towards the more Jewish end of things and away from the Christian. Christians don't have laws to follow other than to believe in Jesus, right?
No, they do. So I grew up in a fundamentalist Baptist upbringing, and they had modesty laws that all the girls had to have skirts below their knee, that it had to be denim, that you couldn't have a beard, that you had to have hair down to here. If you drank alcohol, you were going to hell.
So wait, they couldn't, why denim? And I'm noticing this is a theme because also if you walk by Beis Yaakov, it's all denim.
Right. So that's just what the guy who started it wanted.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, okay. So I guess there are rules, but there are no rules like kashrut or nida. I mean, like laws, things that people have to go out of their normal life to follow.
Depends on where you go as far as the Christianity.
Okay.
What type of Christianity you're going into. There is, I'm a little bit nervous. Hopefully I don't know if I necessarily want my in-laws to see this, because last time My in-laws, last time with Dr. Brown, when I mentioned that I wasn't a Trinitarian, that
Is
might
that you
not be in
don't
it.
believe in the Trinity?
No.
So
Uh,
what? It's great because neither do I. We're on the same page here.
right.
I
Okay.
noticed you call it a shul, Ahavas Chinam, which, by the way, super clever name, like Sinas Chinam, Ahavas Chinam. Even I
Right.
caught on to that. Um, you mentioned that if someone wanted to convert to your sect of Judaism, first of all, what do you call your sect of Judaism?
Messianic Judaism.
It's been done.
Yeah.
I would do some rebranding on that. Think about it, but okay, fine. So if someone wanted to convert, if they're already Jewish, there's no conversion process, right? They just pretty much say, "I believe in Jesus. I'm going to come to your shul now and do shachris and
Yeah.
put on tefillin and keep kosher and all of this stuff."
Yeah.
Okay. If someone was a Christian and believes in Jesus, and they said, "I want to come worship at your synagogue," can I do that? I don't want to keep kosher. I don't want to wear I want to shave. I don't like the curly bits on the side. I'm not into the fashion, but I want
Right.
to come worship with you guys because I believe in Jesus and so do you. Is that okay?
So they can come. Obviously some things would need to be changed or left out in the siddur. We haven't really thought about that too much. There is a conversion process they can go through if they want to convert. If they don't want to keep kosher, they have to respect it, especially during Pesach and stuff like that. So we do have Gentiles that have come over.
Mm.
Um, and we just sort of explain why we do what we do and that kind of thing. When they come over, we get muvasha wine or whatever else it may be, for those situations when they come over for Shabbat. We haven't really had anybody daven with us as a Gentile,
Mm.
um but I think that they can.
You
The
daven
issue
in
is
Hebrew?
some of the
You daven in Hebrew
daven in Hebrew and English, yeah,
and
depending
English.
who I'm with. Like if there's somebody here who their Hebrew is not very good, I'm not going to just daven in Hebrew and I'm not understand what I'm saying, so I can daven in English for them.
Do you want to get to a point with your shul? Do you want to get to a point where they walk in and it is like an Orthodox Shachar Mincha Maariv where you got someone at the Bima, a
Yeah,
minion,
yeah,
call and response in
yeah,
that sense?
yeah. How's a chazan? Find a rabbi who would be willing to work with us.
So do you have a rabbi or are you the rabbi?
I'm not a rabbi, so
Right,
for
because you
me,
believe in smicha, don't you?
I believe in smicha.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So what do you do about that? You have a shul that you started, but no rabbi.
But no rabbi. Right now, we don't have a lot of people that meet in person.
How
Uh,
could you get smicha? Who could give you
uh,
smicha?
I would have it need a beit din of 3 Orthodox rabbis that would be able to give me smicha after passing the test.
And they'd have to be Orthodox by your standard.
Right. So they'd have to be Orthodox, like
Like, yeah. Hanukkah or Pesach?
Pesach,
Lakshan kugel or potato kugel?
Lakshan Kugel. Oh wait, for Pesach? Then
No,
obviously,
not for Pesach, just what you
okay.
prefer.
I prefer Lakshan Kugel.
Really?
Yeah.
That's how you know he's a guy. No, I'm kidding. That's a bad joke. I'm sorry. When you daven, how do you incorporate Yeshua into your prayers? Do you change words in the Siddur
No.
or no?
I daven Tehillas Hashem.
Interesting. So then
That's straight.
where does Jesus come into all of this?
Well, he's my Rebbe. Jesus comes into it with he holds the strictures. And so he says that you should be hold to a pretty chumra observance of Pesach, chumra observance of these different kinds of things. So I try to be strict in that. So it's Hasidic in a Hasidic sense.
Okay.
What does he rule on Borer during Shabbos, right? So does he hold that there is an issue of Borer biyad meyad be'ochol? Like he probably rules that that's permissible, that's mutter.
So I guess one thing I will say is I've had some of my Christian friends bring me to their church. There were attempts at missionizing or proselytizing, converting, you
Right.
know, And the pitch that I've always got is you don't keep kosher anyway. You believe in God. You know, because you're Jewish and you don't do the commandments, you're probably going to hell. Why don't you secure your salvation with a simple testimony of faith and go on about your merry way? Doesn't that sound great? And to me, if I wasn't so hard-headed, I would just be like, yeah, sure, give me the cracker, give me the wine, I'll genuflect, I'll do the things. I'll believe in Jesus, sure. Yeah, why not? I'll go to heaven. But then comes along this new wave that their pitch seems more successful than yours. When I read the article that said, oh, the missionaries, they're there and they're babysitting and telling kids about
First
Jesus.
off, no babysitting.
I know that's a rumor. I know that's a rumor and that never happened, but that's what they're saying.
Right.
And they're making it sound so dramatic and intense. They're making it sound predatory.
Right.
And scary.
No,
and
my pitch is don't change anything that you're doing. Simply do teshuva in the sense of that Yeshua is the Mashiach. It was Mashiach ben Yosef, and the Gula was possible 2,000 years ago. And then bring the Gula and do everything that you can to bring the Gula.
But they get so worried that you look like them and that you're saying that. You know, it scares them.
No, I know. I mean, my pitch is a lot more difficult than sort of the Jews for Jesus pitch. Like, I can't tell you how many Orthodox guys.
The Jews for Jesus, I say, because if someone's born Jewish and they believe in Jesus, I just go, no, what are you doing? That's not what we do. That's not what we do. What are you doing?
Right.
But if someone's a Christian and wants to do Jewish stuff, I say, that's great. Like, that's great. Why would you do that? It's so hard.
Right.
Well, it's so hard. And by the way, very impressed. 12 years and you're definitely a Talmud Chacham. Like, I'll give you that. You know, you obviously you'd blow me out of the water if we were ever sit down. Like, and
one of the articles I loved is his knowledge of Torah was great, but his pronunciation of Hebrew was off.
That's the thing, and it is mincha. Mincha. Well, mincha. It's more of like a minchuh, like mincha.
Mincha.
No, you're saying mincha. It is. You have to work on it if you want to fool them. No,
well, the thing is I don't want to fool them.
I know. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Maybe it's better that I don't. But one of the things is I don't want to change their lifestyle or their way of life. I don't want to change their connection to Hashem or their Torah.
So then what's the difference? What's the difference?
I know that Yeshua is the Mashiach. And I think
so he'll be the Mashiach. He'll be the Mashiach when he comes back. So what's the difference if these from, like, you guys can all be from together, and in your heart you can believe in Jesus, and in their heart they can believe in whatever.
Mashiach is already here. We just need to open him with mitzvahs and good deeds.
He's right around the corner. Just, you know, so that's the Chabad thing.
It's true, though. I mean, there's this Chabad also has this campaign that the Rebbe is Mashiach. We all
sure, and I also think that's a little silly.
And I think we need to. I have the same desire in the sense that they do.
Why not Shabtai Tzvi?
Well, he converted to Islam, so
why not the Muslims? There's a much bigger base for people like, you know, of your persuasion to really tackle. There's only 15 million of us, you know. There's 1.2 billion Muslims. Imagine the damage we could do if we could just learn Arabic. You know what I mean? You already have a beard. Just trim up your mustache a little bit. Switch out the yarmulke for a big white one. You're good to go. Maybe go tanning.
My goal is to bring the Geula. My goal is to have Mashiach be recognized for who he is, and that will be the final mitzvah that I think we need to do in order to bring the full Geula, which I think is in the heart of every Jew.
But I do want to give you a few minutes to pitch your shul. If you want to plug anything, we'll also add links down in the description below, but go ahead.
So if you are curious about Yeshua and how he can be an Orthodox Jew as Messiah, we are in Chicago. We're trying to get a minyan. We don't have a minyan anywhere close to a minyan right now. We do have Shabbos meals, and so if you want to come have a good Shabbos meal, talk about stuff, even if you disagree with me, we love you all. It's Ahavas Chinam. .com. If anybody wants to sort of give to this crazy idea, you can also do so as well at ahavaschinam.com. and we hope to hear from you. You can email us there as well, info@ahavaschinam.com if you want to yell at me. If you want to agree with me, you can do that as well through info@ahavaschinam.com. Hopefully you reach out.
Awesome. And we'll put all the links down in the description below to his YouTube channel, their website, and all of that. All right. Well, shkoyach, thank you so much for joining us, man. This has been Muzzle Tough. Thank you so much. This has been phenomenal. I wish you, I guess, the best of luck with your endeavors,
Thank you.
Batzlacha.
Thank you.